What are your limits? I mean, the limits you impose upon yourself. A silly question, really. If you get home to find some psycho has your family trussed up like little turkeys on the living room floor, then the only limit is the time it takes to close the gap between you and the psycho. But what are your scruples? What things will you not do for money? Now, I don't mean how you evaluate the risk, the danger, the sheer public embarrassment if you do get caught red-handed doing something despicable. Or maybe those things are the only brakes on our behaviour. Ethics, as such, are just PR. Although, let's not forget ability, skill and opportunity. That holds people back. You'll hear a lot of talk from high-minded criminals and civilians about the things they would not do under any circumstances. How many times have we seen that break? Next time you have to listen to any of that, ask yourself if the speaker has the skill, the need, or could live with the shame, as he sees it, if he got caught selling cockroach porn. And why do cockroaches look like oatmeal on the inside? So, let me get to the story of my own borderline. Quite a few years ago, after a forced retirement from smuggling, I found myself giving advice on other people's operations. Usually smuggling, but really all manner of mischief. Often I would be blessed with an unexpected gift if life went well for those who sought my counsel. Funny thing, more often than not, people would agree with what I suggested, but then stick to their bad plan. I was paid either way. Make of that what you will. There was a time, for example, when I was asked what was the best for a young couple who had been put on a cruise ship that had left the Caribbean and was due at Cape Verde before docking at a European port. Well, less European now than it was then. We shan't name it. Briefly, the point was that the couple in their 20s should not have been on that ship. Someone should have checked the average age of the customary passengers. The median age of most passengers on saga cruises is 64. Now, you can imagine that on a big cruise ship there is a security team, mostly dealing with confused passengers or drooling incidents on the lower decks. So, the team does not have much to do. They noticed that Mary and John spent most of their time in their small cabin, yet did not otherwise behave like newlyweds. I guess that means arguing. Also, after a day tour in the port of Cartagena, Colombia, they were rarely seen at all. What was my advice to those who had their welfare at heart? In short, that they should get off at Cabo Verde, the mid-Atlantic former Portuguese colony, to take with them anything of value and store it on the island. Return to ship and home, then find an alternate means to collect the luggage. But today is not about novel border crossings. It is this. I was asked to devise a scam by guys who had much experience in flim-flammery. They'd run the Fine Wines Investment Con, and their teams had called suckers with crypto wallet offers. They'd even taken over the land titles of people who they knew lived abroad, and would sometimes return to find their unlet houses with new and startled owners. The range from cheesy to low-bowling. From me, they wanted some mechanism to draw in the chumps themselves rather than cold calling. Something that would act as a preliminary filter somehow, that those responding would be ready to be fleeced, or otherwise would not have called. This is not my usual field, but an exercise is good even just to dismiss the idea as weak or flawed. What I shall outline here is the resultant chicanery, and I offer it only in that it reveals a few things about human nature worth noting. An ad appears in a brochure that older people read carefully, the kind with ads for electric slippers and hearing aids, knitting magazines, that kind of print. It reads, "Make good money part-time in your own home." It says that your agency has the task of getting people to handwrite the envelopes to the clients of specialist services companies. Vague enough. Earn up to £50 per day for less than an hour's work with the pen. I guess it depends how you hold the pen. What's that about, they wonder, and so they are told in due course the documents going in the envelopes are important, but for security they don't want to appear important. Important envelopes in the mail often go missing, and, as well, handwritten personal mail is usually opened and read immediately rather than left lying about. For those who agree and sign up to the letter envelope task, they'd first get no more than 20 envelopes to complete and return in a prepaid large envelope, a list of names and a cover letter to go inside. The pay is just $1.75 for each, which is low but not awful. They are paid to their account, their personal account, and if they want more than 20 after that, they must complete a brief questionnaire. At this point, they have been paid something, remember? So they know there's no harm to their account, just credits. The questionnaire they complete is because they will be getting sensitive financial information, so can't be riffraff. Questions like, are you good at keeping secrets? Do you resent those who have made fortunes by being clever? And, of course, do you own your own house? The next batch of envelopes have more than a cover letter to enclose and seal, but it pays the handsome fee of £2.50 because they are now Grade C handlers. They have a title. There are papers for the recipients in the envelopes that show that they have been members of a group of private investors. The club operates across Europe and the United States and uses very fine stationery. It is clear that they have profited from future trades in currencies, metals and property booms. There are graphs that match the rise of such commodities in the last quarter, and it can be seen that the 18% dividends are consistent, reliable, and go far back. Enclosed notices remind investors that since the group's success relies on data mining and inside sources, that they must not tell outsiders that they are part of the group by name. One letter, the letter Envelope Writer's Notice, is to a Mr. Gatherington Horde, and it points out that if he wishes to remain part of the group, he must not identify the locations and company registries to anyone, even those closest to him, until after the quarter's profit-taking is completed. That the wait list has only just been fulfilled, and he should bear that in mind. There is yet another letter telling an investor that the £100,000 bronze block account is now a silver block account due to the cash realised from the arranged equity release from his own property. That tells them they can get money even if they don't think they can. Also, there is nothing quite as credible as the information one reads when you should not be reading it at all. There is, too, in another letter, a note from the new applicants department congratulating a new member. The address of that department that does the decision-making is quite clear. These envelope writers get a window into the world of secret high finance. After about 3 months or less, and by then an investment on your part, just in prime candidates anyway, of under £100 each, in postage and letter addressing fees, you will have the inquiry. Can I invest in the group? They will ask. For those with the nerve of the greater prize, the answer that they should get is short. We were surprised that you have requested membership in the group. It is by invitation only. We do hope you continue to be discreet in any information you pick up while addressing and filling envelopes. And in any event, the minimum required is £50,000. While we appreciate your services, we do not expect, in your position, that you will be able to meet those commitments. So, dismissed. Get back to writing envelopes. How do you think people react when they are told they will be excluded from the club of their dreams? By the way, when another month passes, and by chance there's been an opening on the investors list, they will be quick to ask, how can they join? Now, they've been virtually sworn to secrecy, have just managed to get the bronze block and dream of the silver. Your questionnaire research will have already told you, the one you had them fill out, that their life's net worth can be realised. And given the secrecy provisions, what information have they got to check? Why, they have that list of addresses they've been making envelopes for. What can that tell them? Well, a Google Maps search will show some fine houses along some wide streets with tall trees. There's lots of frills as you go on to stage 2, clean out. Like the Visa card that they are sent that works for the dividend payouts. Rather small at first, they just happen to come in at the tail end of a financial quarter. But there's a double assurance of an offshore ATM card that gives onshore money. Quite legit company debit cards can be had from Belize in bulk with names, well, any name, of employees. The heart of the trickery is you are offering admission into a world people believe exists, but for which they were always excluded. The streamlining is that they refine themselves by their actions, so that by the time and the money spent on candidates is reduced to low numbers, but each with demonstrated assets, just waiting for you to milk. In the 3 months of their education, they are utterly convinced, as there is no rush. The company that has paid them is finally letting them take the ride to the top floor. As it happened, I did not give this plan to those who asked for it. Sure, if done correctly, they could have had 10 million over a 6-month period, after which, like any set of non-existent investments, the payouts are then not worth the level of new business you may get. I knew, too, they'd be hasty and greedy, not wanting to spend anything much on the fine-tuning and those frills I love so much. And going further than simply denying the grasping offspring of their undeserved inheritance from the old people, and that should be the limit. I simply lay it before my known audience, yes, you, a group I love for their indolence and forgetfulness, who are unlikely to make the effort that this suggests, but do quite enjoy the certain autopsy of human ambitions and class desire. Eh? What's that, you ask? What happened to the young couple with some packed cases on a cruise ship of geriatrics from the Caribbean? Well, their masters did not follow my advice, as they thought it long. They let them pass the former Portuguese colony without unloading. The young couple were arrested at disembarkation, and the young man, apparently a very practical-minded youth, ratted them all out. My questioners were definitely not people who write letters to Santa. Until next time, when we might look at who's best in cryptocurrency. It's not really who you think. Good night.